All right. So for the three of you in the room, have you been through one of our education presentations on the 401k before? No, it's all pretty new to you. Have you been here for a long time? Are you long-time employees? You are. Okay. Well, I think this will be useful then, I hope, and informative for you. So to start off with an introduction in terms of who we are, who the service provider is for your 401k, Alliance Benefit Group of Michigan, or ABG of Michigan, is the plan's record keeper and administrator, or in other words, just the vendor, basically. So all things regarding the plan from a service perspective, the call center, the websites, all done in-house at ABG of Michigan, which is over at Telegraph and 12 Mile and Bingham Farms, where we have about 50 employees. We're part of a national organization of independently owned and operated 401k record keepers. So throughout the country, we're in, I think, 22 different states, and we're one of the largest independently owned record keepers. Something that makes us unique is that as we go through the presentation, we'll talk about the investment options in the plan. There's nothing proprietary from an investment perspective. We're not a mutual fund family. We don't have an affiliation with a mutual fund family or an insurance carrier. So we use an open architecture platform in terms of the investments that we offer to you. Now, that also comes with it a challenge because there's over 14,000 investable mutual funds in the universe. So your plan sponsor has engaged a third party, which is Plant Moran Financial Advisors, and their job is to kind of go through that list of 14,000 available funds and screen it down to a menu that's more manageable for you and also should be at all times the best-in-class possible investment choices that you can find. So that's kind of how we're set up. Specific investment-related questions, they can answer for you directly. It's their role is to answer investment-related questions. In today's presentation, we'll go through a kind of a general overview of how the investments are set up. So the agenda that we have is to start off with a quick 5-minute video that talks about saving for retirement. Then we'll just talk about the plan's provisions. There are no changes to the actual plan itself. We'll go over that quickly. We'll give an overview of the investment options, talk about the tools and resources that are at our website that most people aren't aware of, so I want to show those to you. And then lastly, there was a request, I think it was a result of one of the last kind of plan review meetings, to talk a little bit about how the quarterly statements are generated and where those are found, so we'll do that too. So let's start off with this video. I warned people ahead of time that it's somewhat depressing, so there's your warning.
As a society, we are living longer and longer. We are at a unique crossroads in the retirement industry where we are actually seeing individuals retiring today who are expected to live longer in retirement than the number of years they spent working. For example, for a healthy 65-year-old couple retiring today, there's a 90% chance that one of them will live to be in their 80s. The fact that people are living longer in retirement makes saving for retirement today even more important. With individuals living longer in retirement, certain aspects of retirement spending will also increase. In fact, that healthy 65-year-old couple might spend over $240,000 on health care in retirement. Food alone may cost them upwards of $200,000. In order to afford these retirement expenses, most experts will say that you need to replace about 75% of your working year's salary each year in retirement. Generally, if you save 10 to 15% of your pay for 30 years, you will reach this income replacement ratio. However, when we look at the data, especially in corporate-sponsored retirement plans, the average American is saving just around 6% of their pay. Social Security can and will help you supplement what you already have saved for retirement. However, among elderly beneficiaries, Social Security makes up 90% or more of their income for 21% of married couples and 43% of unmarried people. These are individuals who are almost solely reliant on receiving that Social Security check every month just to make ends meet. One of two things could have happened to these people. Either they retired and started withdrawing too much too quickly, or there are people who didn't have enough saved to begin with. One thing that can hinder your retirement goals is to put off savings. Even though retirement may be 20, 25, or even 30 years away for some of you, starting to save today is the most important decision you can make. In our hypothetical example of Joe and Jane, they each save $100 per month until retirement at age 65. However, Joe begins his saving at age 25, but Jane needs to start saving until she is age 30. Both earn identical rates of return. But Jane misses the opportunity to have an extra $119,000 when she retires at age 65 because she delayed saving for 5 years. This is due to the fact that Jane missed out on the compounding interest and dollar cost averaging. When starting and managing a retirement plan, people generally ask themselves 3 questions. How much should I be saving for retirement? Am I on the right track? And where will my retirement income come from? As stated earlier, we generally recommend saving 10 to 15% of your annual salary. Doing this will help you obtain the 75% income replacement ratio in retirement. But is 10 to 15% really enough? The answer to this question depends on a couple of different factors. When did you start saving? If you started when you were younger and just starting your working career, then yes, 10 to 15% may be enough for you. If you are later in life and have not yet started saving, you may need to contribute more than 15% of your pay to reach your retirement income goal. How are you investing your money? If you are invested in more conservative funds, you may have to contribute more than 15% in order to counteract the lower return that bonds and cash alternatives generally have compared to stocks. When you plan on retiring also factors into your savings rate. Let's say you plan on working until you are 70. You need to save less per year because you are extending the number of years you will be working. Lastly, what will retirement look like for you? If you are a person who envisions traveling the world in retirement, you will most likely need to save more in order to afford your retirement. If you are not sure how much you personally should be saving for retirement, we can help. We have tools and resources that can help you figure out what you want your retirement to look like and how much you need to save today to achieve that vision. You can also schedule a meeting or phone call with one of our advisors to discuss your individual savings rate. Am I on the right track? This is one of the most frequently asked questions we receive. To help you determine if you're on the right track, we call these savings factors. At age 30, we think in order to meet retirement income goals that you should have a savings factor of 1, or, in other terms, have 1 times your annual salary saved for retirement. At age 50, 6 times your annual salary saved. And at age 67, we recommend that you have 10 times your annual salary saved. As stated earlier in our presentation, Social Security will help you supplement your retirement savings. Social Security, on average, will make 40% of your retirement income. The other 60% will come from you. This money will come from accounts such as your 401k account, IRAs, Roth IRAs, and other retirement savings vehicles. If you are curious about what your estimated Social Security benefit will be, or would like to download your statement, you can visit ssa.gov. We highly recommend logging onto the Social Security Administration's website, creating an account for yourself, and downloading your statement in order to check it for inaccuracies in your work history, birth date, or even in your Social Security number. If any of these have errors in them, there may be errors in your benefits. Alliance Benefit Group of Michigan is a locally and independently owned office of Alliance Benefit Group. As a firm, we have years of experience serving a diverse and broad client base. We manage over 20,000 retirement plans consisting of 1.3 million plan participants, such as yourself. For those 20,000 plans, we manage over $70 billion in plan assets. This makes us one of the largest retirement plan administrators in the country. We are large enough to compete, but small enough to care.
So some of the takeaways from the statistics they give you, 10 to 15% savings rate. Most Americans are saving about half that. I don't know what you are all doing in terms of your contribution rates, but hopefully this meeting serves as a point to maybe prompt you to think about that. If you haven't increased how much you're saving in a while, maybe it's a good time to do so. I also always remind people or let people know that our website makes it very easy to turn on a contribution accelerator. So if you go in and change contribution rate, right next to it, it'll give you a little radio button that you can slide to yes and say, I want to use contribution accelerator. So have my contribution rate automatically bump up by 1% per year until it gets to a certain number. And when you turn that on, you kind of forget about it. And, let's say January 1st, you're saving 1% more. Most people can handle that, and they don't even notice it. And it helps you get from where you are now to where you need to be if you're not there currently. So think about that. Let's go into, I had one other slide out here. So the video kind of beats us up a little bit with statistics, and, it's not the most encouraging information for some, but this was a study that Fidelity did on average account balances in 401k accounts as of the first quarter of 2019. So by age band, the average account balance for people 20 to 29 was just under $12,000. For people 30 to 39, $42,000. 40 to 49, $102,000. 50 to 59, $174,000. 60 to 69, under $200,000. And if you go back to the chart that I showed you, 10 times pay at age 67, right? Most Americans are really, really far behind. So think about trying to save a little bit more. The sooner you can, the better. Most people need to. In terms of your plan, first before I get to it, this is correct, right? The matching form? Okay. The reason I ask is because it's extremely rich. I'll talk about that in a second. I'm referring to the match. So in terms of the plan's provisions, age 21, 90 days of service, contribution changes per payroll, so there's no open enrollment or waiting period or deadline. You can go on the website and change your contribution rate when you go home tonight, and then it will take effect next payroll, depending on when they're making payroll changes. Rollovers anytime would be if you had a 401k from another job, you could roll it into this one. You could roll IRAs into this plan as well. In 2019, the maximum you can put in the plan is $19,000. If you're 50 or older, you could add an additional $6,000 on top of that as a catch-up contribution. The plan offers two ways to contribute, pre-tax or Roth. Is anyone making Roth contributions in the plan? Not surprised. The reason I'm not surprised is most people don't. Most people use traditional contributions, and I think a big reason is because they're not familiar with how the Roth provision works. So let's talk a little bit about that. So traditional contributions are pre-tax. Money's going in out of your paycheck before taxes are taken out. Earnings grow tax deferred. What that means is when you retire and pull the money out and take withdrawals, it's taxable to you at that time. So think of it as income in retirement, and you'll just continue to pay tax as you take those distributions. The opposite approach within your plan is to switch it, and rather than making pre-tax contributions, you could choose to make after-tax contributions. Those are known as Roth contributions. Some people are familiar with Roth IRAs or have Roth IRAs. That's something completely separate. So just within your 401k plan at work, there are two sources you can contribute on a pre-tax basis or an after-tax basis. The reason people use these Roth contributions, and the reason why this has become quite popular in the current tax landscape that we're at, is you pay tax today on your contribution, but the trade-off is all of your earnings until you retire and take distributions grow tax-free. So in the first approach, I put the money in pre-tax, I pay the tax later. With the Roth option, I pay the tax as I go, and I build up a source of money that will be completely tax-free to me later on in retirement. The plan allows you to do either or a combination of the two. On the ABG homepage, prior to logging into your account, you can go under Employees, and there's a Calculator tab. One of those calculators is a Roth analyzer. So you can look at what would my results be if I contributed on a Roth basis rather than instead of a pre-tax basis. Generally speaking, the longer your time horizon is, the more advantageous it is to do Roth and allow that money to grow tax-free. Even if you're more middle or later career, though, people are considering switching and making Roth contributions so that they'll have a hedge in retirement. They'll have two sources of money. One they'll pay tax on, one they will not. So again, you can do either or. You can do a combination. You can change it whenever you want to. So those are two different sources of money that can go in the plan. The third source is company contributions. So you're getting a 100% safe harbor match on the first 6% you put in. Safe harbor means it's yours the day it goes in the account. There's no waiting period. There's no vesting schedule. And so if you contribute 6% of your pay, you're getting a full 100% match on that money. That is an extremely rich matching contribution. The reason I just made sure it was accurate is because I never see that. And when I saw it, I was like, I got to make sure that this is correct. It's very unusual. So you're very, very fortunate to receive that type of company contribution. Also keep in mind that if you're saving less than 6%, you're missing out on matching money. So the starting point for an employee here in my mind is I got to put 6% of my pay in this thing so I get the full match. And by doing that, I'm doubling what I'm putting in. So I'm putting in 12%, right? Or 12% of my overall compensation is going in this thing. What did we say that number was that we wanted to shoot for? 10 to 15? So that's a huge, huge, huge benefit that you have is the matching contribution. Any questions so far? Okay, the next slide is just distributions. The plan allows you to borrow. You can see what those provisions are on the left. That's all done on the website. There are no forms to fill out. Actually taking money out on the right, distributions, age 59 and a half is the first time that can be done, even if you're still working here. Younger than 59 and a half, you can't take a distribution unless death, disability, or financial hardship. The other option for a distribution would be if you terminate employment. So if you don't work here forever, you have 4 options. The first is to leave your money in the plan. If your balance is over $5,000, you're not forced to take it out. You could roll it to an IRA, or if you go work somewhere else, you could roll to a new employer's 401k plan. The last option, if you terminate employment, would be to cash it out, which is discouraged because depending on the source, it could be taxable, and then also a penalty if you're under 59 and a half. One thing I forgot to mention in terms of the sources of money, so let's say you've worked here for 10 years and you've always made pre-tax contributions. You've also been getting a match. In your account, the balance is the sum of those two numbers, but they're actually kept separately in terms of two different sources. If you started making a third source and started making Roth contributions, that money would still be in the sum of your total account, but if you broke it down to the source view, you'd see a new source, which is Roth contributions. So in this example, you'd have 3 sources: pre-tax deferrals that I used to make, matching contributions that I used to get and I'm still getting, and now Roth contributions that I'm putting in. Those matching contributions going forward would still go into that matching source, and those will always be taxable upon withdrawal,
So
even if you do Roth.
Yeah, so if you're matching a Roth,
Yep.
the company,
It's going to be taxable. Yep. I just wanted to mention that. So any questions about the plan itself before we talk about the investment options? Okay. So this is designed to be a very high-level overview of the approaches that are available. I like to describe it as 3 different approaches. So you can go in on your own and choose your own investment portfolio. If you go to the Manage Investments area, you'll see all the funds that come up. You can click on the link. They'll take you to a Morningstar fact sheet. You can do your own research, and then you can customize your election however you want and build your own portfolio and take kind of that hands-on approach going through what I call the core lineup of funds and choosing on your own. Most people don't do this. Most people are looking for help and assistance. So target date funds and risk-based strategies provide you with that help and that assistance. The target date funds are kind of the autopilot or the default option, if you will, where you simply choose an investment that matches up with your retirement target date. So I do the math. I'm going to retire in 2045. I pick the 2045. And what you're doing is selecting an age-appropriate investment. And I'll define that in just a second. And then the other option Plant Moran makes available is they go into this core lineup of funds that they've picked, and then they take those funds and they build different strategies for you. They build different package portfolios. So you can assess your risk tolerance as an investor, and let's say you determine you're an aggressive investor, there's a fund in there called the Aggressive, and Plant Moran has done all the work to build that fund and build that portfolio for you. So I think of it this way. I can either choose on my own, choose by age, or choose by risk.
Plant Moran does it really good job. They sit down with us quarterly and they tell us this one's not performing, this one's well, not taking this one out, this one. So they're really, really good.
So the age-based funds, the target date funds, lots of people are in these nationwide. They're very, very popular. Without knowing how you're all invested, I'm just going to assume you're like the national average, and maybe some of you are in these target date funds. So let's take a second to talk about how they work. When I'm young, and let's say under 40, this is the mutual fund manager's definition of young, not mine. If I'm under 40, the thought is that my investment objective is to seek the highest reward I can, highest rate of return I can. And to get that high level of return, I'm glad I closed my sunroof for that part. To get that high level of return, I'm also comfortable and can stomach a higher level of risk or volatility. And the investment category that provides us that high reward, high risk is the stock market. So in this target date portfolio, if I'm young, 90% of what's inside of it is stocks. That's giving me that high reward or that bigger bang for my buck. As I age, at age 40 and go through age 65, my investment objective is changing over time. I'm becoming less concerned with growth and somewhat more concerned with volatility, right? Now I'm getting into the situation as I get older where I'm running out of time to make up for market losses, right? So I should be more conservative as I age. And the target date fund recognizes that, and it changes with you. So I'm 90% in the stock market until I'm 40, and as I age and go through this transition period, it's dialing down the exposure to the stock market. So I'm gradually taking on less stock market exposure, in other words, less risk, less reward, as I get closer to retirement. So the thought is that at any point in my investing career, if I'm in a target date fund, I'm in the right place based on my age. Make sense? So it making sense is the first part. It may make sense, but it may not be the best place for you or the right place for you. So if you've ever taken the step, or if you'd like to take the step, on the website there's a questionnaire that you can go through, and it asks you questions about what type of investor you are. So the target date fund recognizes time horizon only. The second consideration is, what about your risk tolerance? Maybe you're in your 60s, and this target date portfolio would only have you in like 60% stocks, and what if you think, I want to be more aggressive than that? What if I go through this questionnaire and it tells me I'm an aggressive investor? Well, I apologize, it's small, but these are the lifestyle portfolios that Plant Moran builds, and they're just named: conservative, balanced, aggressive, very aggressive. And if you define the type of investor you are, you may want to choose one of these portfolios rather than the target date fund. If you have no interest in defining the type of investor you are, and you're completely comfortable with being in wherever you should be based on your age, then the target date funds work perfectly fine for that. So what questions do you have just on kind of that overview of the different approaches? We're good? Okay. How many of you have been on the website and been into your 401k account? 1, 2, 2. 2.5.
It's kind of confusing to me.
2.5.
I don't know where to go on the website.
Okay. So the first time you go on the website, when you go to the home page, you click Account Access. If you've never been on there, your username is your social security number, your password is the last 4. Okay? It's going to then have you create some verification questions. This is the most confusing part: creating a username, creating a password, putting in beneficiaries, kind of going through those enrollment steps. And now it's going to make you put in a cell phone number, put in an email address. Once you go through all of that the first time, it takes you anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes. Once you go through all of that, then the next time you log in, it's very, very simple. You just come to your dashboard screen that looks like this. Has your balance in the middle. You've seen this. That means you've gone through those steps. Your balance is in the middle. Your current contribution rate is here. If you want to change it, just click Change, and that's where you can go in and change how much you're putting in and turn on that auto increase that I mentioned. But I wanted to just highlight a couple things that are available that if you're not going on the website, you don't know that they're there, and they might be useful to you. So first, this little tab over on the right says free webinar. So once a month, there's a different topic. It's a recorded webinar that you can register for. I think last month it was on preventing identity theft. It's a variety of different financial literacy type educational topics. So check it out, see what the topic is. It might apply to you or someone in your family. We're going to talk about generating statements and pulling those down in just a second, but there's a link right here that says reports and statements if you ever want your quarterly statement. Also on the home page, so your balance here is always the sum of everything in your account. Down here, there's a little drop down where you can change the view to source view if you ever want to know how much have I put in and how much has my employer put in. And hey, I started doing Roth contributions 3 years ago. How much of my money is in the Roth source? It'll break it down there for you. The left-hand side, it says future retirement income. So there's a piece of software that our actuaries built called Votaire, and it's taking your balance and your contribution rate and converting it into estimated monthly income. But if you click Get Your Complete Plan and go inside of it, it does a whole lot more. So it gives you a retirement forecast from stormy to sunny, and it allows you to input other information. So it'll do a Social Security estimator for you. It will project monthly retirement costs. It'll drill all the way down to your zip code and give you estimated healthcare expenses. So it's a really robust and comprehensive financial or retirement income planning tool. Some people get overwhelmed by it if they go in it. So if it's overwhelming, the other thing you can do is just right on the home page, I mentioned this earlier, there's a tab for employees and then calculators. So those calculators are just kind of like the quick and dirty, like, hey, here's my balance, here's my age, how much am I going to have when I retire? And that's the question people want to know. If you go into this thing, it's going to be like, yeah, what's your blood type, and how it's really, but if you have the appetite for it, it can do a whole lot for you. So that's Votaire. The other thing available is called Balance. I'm going to throw a few things out to you that are available. Balance, they're actually the group that does the webinars that I just talked about. Their phone number is on the screen and then also on the inside of this brochure. So they do money management, coaching, counseling. They have certified credit counselors on staff. All of their services are available to you for free, and they're completely confidential. So, sometimes I have people come up to me and they say, hey, I'm thinking about taking a loan to pay off this particular credit card. I don't know if I should do it. What should I pay off first? These people are the people you go to for those types of questions. Or when I just applied for a loan, I was told my credit number was this, and I don't even know what that means. Who can answer? Who can help me with that? How can I improve my credit score? Those types of services are available through Balance. And on our website, you can link to all of their information. So there are articles and podcasts and all kinds of really, really good stuff that they put out there that's all free to you. Another thing that's on the website that you're not utilizing is called Financial Finesse. So this is a kind of like a counseling and educational resource, but it's a little less invasive in the sense that it's just kind of a do-it-yourself, do-it-your-own-pace online tool. It's free. It's available to you to use however you want to, but it has kind of like 3 modules in it. There's a financial wellness assessment. There's a key event planning tab, and then there's a frequently asked questions tab. So the financial wellness assessment, it's like it says quick and easy, but it's actually like 30 questions. It asks you different questions about financial topics in different areas. And depending on how you score, it's going to give you a wellness score on the way you answer those questions. And then the cool thing is it gives you this personalized action item. So let's say I answer the questions that I'm married and I have children, but I have no will, I have no life insurance, and I've done nothing for saving for college. So it's going to flunk me in my wellness score for preparedness in those areas. And then what it'll do is once a month, it'll target me with an email on educational content. And it's not a sales pitch. There's no product whatsoever. It's all educational. And then we'll put in a slide for all these different screen prints, but I'll just kind of skip through that, showing the financial wellness, personal action plan. Then the second part is the life event planner. So you can go through and say, hey, let's say I'm saving for college. What are the different types of things I should be thinking about? What types of accounts are out there? What are the plans through my state? All kinds of good information. And then the FAQ thing. Also, we are on social media, so Facebook and Twitter. We post timely information about the markets or tips for saving for retirement, so you can find us there if you'd like. We also have a mobile app, so you can search ABGMI in the App Store. The app itself doesn't provide you with a tremendous amount of efficiencies in terms of accessing your account. You can access your account just using your browser, and it works perfectly fine using a phone without having the app. So I did mention earlier that there was a request to talk a little bit about statements. So for the last, probably at least 3 or 4 years, we stopped mailing quarterly statements like almost all financial institutions have. You can, when you go online and under your personal information area, you can check a box that says, yes, I'd like to receive a paper statement, and you'll get one 1231 statement in the mail. But otherwise, if your email address is populated, then you'll receive an email that your quarterly statement is ready, and then you can just log into your account, go up to reports and statements, and those quarterly statements are all stored right under there under reports and statements. In fact, I think you might need to change this drop down to statement, and then they all pop up. What's neat, though, is you can do custom date ranges. So if you just want to see a monthly statement, if you want to see year-to-date, if you want to see the last 3 years, whatever date range you want to put in, you can do that. So it's a lot more interactive than just going in and pulling down a quarterly statement. If you want to find a customized date range, you can do that. And they've become quite simple. They've really thinned these things out. They used to put so much information in these statements, but account balance, change in value during the time period that you run it, and then the rate of return over that period. So if I want to say, what's my rate of return over the course of the last 3 months, over the last 2 months, it'll provide that information on there, and then it shows any activity, so beginning balance, add any additions or withdrawals, and then ending vested balance. It does also give a projected income calculation as well, kind of like what you see on your account in that filter area. So it'll show you what your projected monthly income is. I think that's on the second to last page, and then it shows any activity in the account by fund, and then it also gives a breakdown of performance of all the funds in the plan. This can all be found online. If you just click on investing profiles, it'll show you all the performance of the funds right there. But if you want it in the format of a quarterly statement, it's all detailed on there. And then any fees that are assessed are also detailed out on the last page of the statement. It'll show you exactly what fees come out of your account over that period of time. And that's the last slide I have. So what questions do you have on anything that I went over, or any questions that you had before we got started?
So if I'm online, say I'm trying to use one of those tools, and I'm getting stuck or I have a question, is there a chat functionality, is there a help functionality, or anything like that? Unfortunately, there's no chat through the website, but you could call the 800 number and talk to the help desk individuals. I messed around with some of the questionnaires are pretty in-depth. Yeah, right. But they're pretty cool. Yeah, they are. They are. So a couple things that we can do on that. First is just simply calling the help desk if you're stuck and you have questions. Another thing that's available is just one-on-one discussions. So we can set up a time where, if you survey the folks and you find out, hey, there's 10 people that would love to have an individual meeting or a one-on-one chat, that could be arranged either through me at ABG or through Susan at Plant Moran, depending on the nature of the questions involved. But we could certainly set up a time where we can spend individual time with people to help them navigate those tools. And there's video tutorials on how to use those too, right? There are not. So there are videos on the home page. If you go under employees, there's an area that says Reach Retirement Video Series, and you should be getting those emails. Last year it was once a month. This year we're doing some different things with them. But those videos are designed to be just educational videos. This year, though, I'm creating some that are actually more website tutorials. They're not. I don't know if by the end of the year I'll have some that really drill down into the different tools. What I wanted to start with was some videos that actually said, hey, here's how you log into your account and change your contribution rate. Or, hey, if you've never put in a beneficiary, here's where you go to do it. So I wanted to do just some 30-second quick video clips on navigating the website. The next thing that will be coming, though, is
a video, let's say, that says, hey, introducing Votaire, this is the retirement income calculator, and here's where you go and how you do things inside of it. So that's great, great feedback, and it's something that we are working towards. If you don't know that, then so think of it this way. Go back to this. When you said there's so many, how do I know which one to pick? It's overwhelming. That's all here. All these different funds, right? If it's overwhelming and I don't know how to pick, then the easy thing to do is go down to here, and in the list, find the target date fund with, I have it on the screen print, find the target date fund with the date that matches my retirement year. If you don't know what that is, you can scroll all the way down to the bottom. It'll say, based on your date of birth, your target default date is this, which is probably where you are now because it's the default option if you've never picked anything. So to answer your question, if you don't want to go through the list and navigate all these options or you don't know how, these are there for that reason. All you need to do is pick the one with the retirement date. Now, if you grasp this concept of risk-reward and it doesn't align with you as an investor, then you might want to go into one of these. But if you don't even want to go that far in terms of assessing my risk tolerance and understanding the type of investor I am, that's what these are for.
So the lifestyle funds at the bottom, those are all made up of
these funds.
Funds here.
Yep.
These are just like fidelity target date funds, right?
Yeah, I think they're so Plant Moran makes a recommendation on which ones they're using. It might be T. Rowe Price.
Okay. But they're not made up of
correct
the funds that are available at the top. The lifestyle funds are made up of the funds that Plant Moran is recommending. That said, they also recommend
exactly right.
Funds. So, and I can't stress enough, they are really, really good at choosing funds that outperform the market. Lastly, to your question, the target date fund is a no-brainer. It's like, I'm gonna, put my trust in Plant Moran, let them do the heavy lifting for me because they know. They're talking about who's managing the fund, and this manager has 20 years of experience, so this one only has 3. So we sit in that meeting as a committee, and we're like, you know what you're talking about.
So the other thing too is if you call our help desk and you say, I'm an employee at Education Danboise and I want someone to try to help me understand the investment options, they're going to look it up and say, oh, Plant Moran is the financial advisor. They're going to take your information, send it over to Plant Moran, and they will call you. And they will look in your account and say, yeah, you're in the target date fund based on your age. Here's how it works. So they are there to provide that service individually as well.
They're Susan and Justin and everybody else. But I think that what you just said is what a lot of participants say, and then they don't do anything. Right?
Yeah.
And then
they give up. They're like, I'm not doing this anymore. Yeah, I know.
But that target date comes where you're saying it's a no-brainer.
Yep. Any other questions? All right, I'm going to end the recording.
So the help number is on that.